Welcome to the news for the week of 22 March. So it's episode 21 on in the week of the 22nd. So lots of 20s and everything confusing. Today, COVID-19 is not just a physical infection. Facebook sent their moderators home and turned everything over to the AI. Microsoft reveals 2 0 days, Zoombombing, and yes, the Security Weekly brand toilet paper is sold out, including the special Doug's Face edition that was in limited availability. Daniel Hampton from Signal Sciences joins us for a chat about internal control monitoring and how Signal Sciences may be helping you with some of this craziness and more on the security news.
This is Security Weekly, for security professionals, by security professionals.
We interrupt our program to bring you this important message.
It's the show that keeps you up to date on the latest security news twice a week, your trusted source for accurate security information and expert analysis. It's time for Security Weekly News. Make sure your team is prepared to fight off the latest cybersecurity threat. IT Pro TV is the resource to keep you and your IT team skills up to date. You can stream IT Pro TV courses live and on demand, so there's no need to send staff to off-site training. Team subscriptions include Pro Portal, so managers have full control over your team's training schedule. Go to itpro.tv/hack-naked and use the code HN30 to try it free for 7 days and receive 30% off your monthly membership.
And now the news. Microsoft released an advisory yesterday that the Adobe Type Manager library contains 2 unpatched 0 days, which allow for remote code execution. Basically, each one of these can allow someone to open a script in the Windows preview pane. And of course, if we can open a script in the preview pane, we can execute a script in the preview pane. There is currently no patch for this, and I think probably the reason everybody picked this story up was that it affects just about every version of Microsoft Windows that's currently around. So 10, 7, 8, Server 2008, Server 2016, Server 2019. I mean, if you look at the list on there of all of these things, it's just about everybody. I would presume that these are pretty common type 0 days in these Adobe font packs. I would guess that a patch is forthcoming. But in the meantime, apparently Microsoft was reporting that this was being used for remote code execution on their system, so be warned. I will warn you to warn your people about fake CDC and other phishing alerts. I know we know this, but it's just I keep saying it because all this craziness going on. All this stuff related to COVID-19, the virus attacking the world at this point in time. The FBI IC3 unit issued an alert that fake emails claiming to be from the CDC with important information about COVID-19 were distributing ransomware. That's no big news for any of us. We certainly see this kind of thing all the time. Phishing with news about layoffs. I've seen I got a phone call in Chinese, which was quite interesting. I also got a phone call in Spanish. All the usual delivery methods are out there and rampant. But seriously, you really may want to issue some new advisories to people specifically focused on COVID-19, because we just keep seeing that over and over again. Try not to attach Word files to those same warnings. I saw somebody sent me one of those the other day and said, "Can you believe our people did this? They issued a warning about not accepting stray files and strange unsolicited stuff. And here's a nice Word file for you to read about it in." But we really need to reiterate to all of our users and our staffs and all of our friends and family just how much people are using COVID-19 and the fear and the pandemic as a jumping off point for sending out information and getting people to click on it. Because I guarantee you, when people start sending stuff out saying, "You've been laid off, click here to find out more," a lot of people are going to click that file. So that was going on. Facebook and Twitter sent home their moderators on paid leave, which meant that about 15,000 or so contractors at Facebook who review the posts for content and for misinformation are actually not at work. So basically, Skynet is in charge of the reviews. Zuck said this may result in more false positives. Imagine that. But at YouTube, similar measures are in effect, and the AI is reviewing content. So again, you may want to caution people about misinformation that they're picking up on Facebook, YouTube, and all these portals as if we hadn't already cautioned them and as if they shouldn't have known that already. But I've been seeing an uptick in misinformation, racist memes, and all kinds of stuff on Facebook. So the people who track this know that that's going on, and they're taking advantage of it. So once again, you may want to be sure and issue some new advisories to your people. Governments, at the same time, are increasingly looking at social network data, cell phone location data, and so forth as a means of tracking people in relation to COVID-19. Countries who have more focus on personal privacy are not nearly as receptive to this as countries where the government simply says, here's what's going to happen, dear leader has ordered it. But every point in between results in a new set of questions about the ethics of all of this. A lot of personal dilemmas for people in security as organizations ask for users to enable features that would allow them to be tracked as companies try to decide, are they going to surrender information? Israel's been doing this for a while to fight terrorism, but now they're using that same approach that they use for terrorism to identify people, where they have been, who they've been near, and in order to try to track potential vectors for COVID-19. Apparently, the White House in the United States has also been talking with Google and Facebook about using data collected by social media sites in a similar manner, but they've definitely not been talking to us about it. But Senator Markey from Massachusetts sent a letter asking about potential partnerships between the feds and private companies last Thursday. Telecommunications company in Austria and Germany and Italy are already providing data to the government in an anonymized form to assist in efforts to track the disease, which has already killed 14,652 people worldwide per the World Health Organization this morning. So since then, who knows? Abuse.ch launched Malware Bazaar, a free service for all users, which will collect known malware samples and share them with the community. Users can download as many malware samples as they like, search, filter, etc., on all the vetted, and then vetted is an important word here, malware samples. Unlike other sites like VirusTotal who charge for these samples, Malware Bazaar is going to offer them up for free. They are vetted, so these are actual malware samples. They don't accept pups. They don't accept adware and that kind of stuff. This is actual malware, and they are making it available. So if you are a malware collector or a malware analyst, or you just like playing around with malware, now you have a place to go to get your malware samples from. And when we come back, we will welcome Daniel Hampton from Signal Sciences with an interview where we're going to talk about, we'll talk about how their tools may help you, and we're going to talk a little bit about the fatigue that comes from trying to manage all this normally and in times of trouble. So stick around.
As technology continues to evolve and expand, so have the countless ways our critical systems can be put in jeopardy. Ransomware attacks, misconfiguration, user error, and malicious threat actors, to name a few. As IT infrastructures continue to grow and diversify, how do you ensure stable security? Core Security, a help systems company, provides an analytics-driven, layered approach to security with a portfolio that enables both proactive and reactive responses. With Core Security, you can reduce risk by limiting access, detect upcoming and active threats, test for security weaknesses, and efficiently monitor data for actionable insights. To learn more, visit securityweekly.com/core security.
Welcome back to the Security Weekly News from the bunker. Now we welcome Daniel Hampton from Signal Sciences. Hi, Daniel. How are you?
Doing well. How about you, Doug?
I'm okay. We're still doing shows, and that's good. So we get to do something. I just touched my face. Oh God, let me get. I've got my bottle of alcohol here, and so it's.
I'm currently drinking that right now.
Well, we haven't quite got that desperate yet, but actually, that's for cleaning off CPUs. So that was why that's laying there.
Never can be too careful.
Yeah, I know. I've been scrubbing the CPU, the heatsink paste off CPUs forever. Well, thanks for joining us. I was going to go ahead and maybe you could tell me a little bit about how you got involved in security to start off.
Oh boy. Well, it's funny that you just mentioned how long you've been scrubbing thermal paste off CPUs. I did the same thing back when I was a kid. So, man, I've been working with computers ever since I can remember, and I was in the military, came back mid 2000s after a tour in Iraq, and didn't have much to do that had to do with my career in the military, and so I had a choice to either go to college and spend a lot of time ramping up towards the career, or a friend of mine who started an IT company. He asked for my help, and he was somebody that I'd incidentally built computers with as a kid, and worked. Remember the old IPX, SPX protocols and things like that, where you had to actually do your own networking instead of have Xbox Live. So we'd worked on all that stuff together, doing LAN parties and things like that. And I helped him out with a couple jobs and figured out that I could do it myself, started my own company. And 11 years later, I was doing everything, had a bunch of employees, and was overworked, got a job offer from Imperva, worked for them for 3.5 years, doing database security consulting and WAF security consulting, things like that. And now I've been with Signal Sciences for a little over a year now. So I'm loving it, man. It's not 100 hours a week.
Well, what else would you be doing? I mean, it's kind of like,
I know. What else would I be doing? Skiing? I don't know.
Oh, okay. Let's not start on that, because I know I didn't even manage to get to go skiing this year, so it's kind of sad. I haven't missed.
I didn't either, man. I did it last year. Haven't done it this year so far. And it looks like the traveling police are there to keep me from doing it now.
Vail notified me my season pass was terminated, so I was like, I didn't even do anything. They were like, sorry, we're shut down. But anyway, one of the things I wanted to talk to you a little bit about was it seems like to me that currently, more than ever, security people are getting yanked away from security roles and or having reduced staff because people are sick or getting sent home, et cetera. And I know I've had people call me and say, what should I do? They just pulled 3 of my people over to do tech support. I think one of the real issues that we face, and I know that your company is doing some things to try to help with this, is this what I've always called log fatigue, but it's really more than log fatigue. It's really just the whole, how do I monitor all this stuff? And today with this increased threat, from users, from hackers, because if I was going out to break into stuff, I would be doing it now, because I know everybody is stressed out to the max. They're dealing with all these issues, and they're probably not watching the borders. So maybe you could comment a little bit about that.
Sure. Well, surprisingly enough, we've actually at Signal Sciences, the professional services team, we've gotten busier over the last month or so, because what we're finding is organizations who had been doing a lot more reactive security control measures as far as their WAFs and things like that, now they've got more staff working from home. And I guess since people aren't sitting in agile meetings all day, they're having additional time to look into some of the security threats that we've been mitigating for them, and then looking kind of further in and going, wait a minute. So here's actually what our organization is doing. And with an increase in the work from home staff, seeing how their applications are utilized by their employees on the inside, and then also how people, especially with online shopping and entertainment organizations, they're getting really hammered right now. How the internet's handling that, how their web applications are working. We've actually seen an uptick in people looking at to us for guidance for how to handle some of their vulnerabilities and things that they're uncovering when they're working from home. So we've been very busy over the last several weeks.
I mean, I think everybody in security is very busy right now. A lot of people, I had somebody ask me that's not involved in the industry the other day about, they're like, I guess you guys don't have much to do right now. And I was like, well, it's like we have a lot to do because there's just a massive threat increase. I mean, do you think that the threat is? I mean, it sounds like a dumb question, but I mean, do you think the threat's increasing from all these people working at home? I mean,
it's tough to say. I think when it comes down to how people are being attacked, you already hit on it at your kind of your spin up to this. Social engineering is always going to, I think, be the biggest attack vector for anybody who really wants to be successful, because people are the real threat to information security, right? But ultimately, are there more vulnerabilities with people working from home? It's tough to say. I think we've been globally transitioning to an increase in work from home staff, especially in the corporate side of things, and where we do most of our protection with Signal Sciences and with any kind of web application, right? So, are there more threats? I don't know. I think that's tough for me to quantify.
I think there are, to be honest, because one of the things that I was talking to somebody about this the other day, was it seems like what's different, and you said people have been working from home for a long time, and I agree with you, but all those were people that self-selected to work from home, and
Yes.
Suddenly we're telling people to work from home, and I know just down at school, they went and told professors and students who have never, ever done this. They've got people that have never even considered doing it and don't want to do it. And they all got sent home and are being told, well, just do it. So, I mean, how would you deal with that?
Yeah, man, I fit in an organization that has not been prepared for something like this. And a lot of corporate mentality takes a while to shift. And when you have organizations where the IT is not prepared for a large global transition to work from home staff, what you said is absolutely true. If you don't have VPN infrastructure in place to basically mirror the corporate environment, and also if you don't have control over your employees' endpoints and things like that, I just had a school teacher asked me the other day, this is I think 3 days ago, how to handle all of her students coming to class virtually. And she was saying, I don't even know how to use the virtual tools that our IT is presenting us with. And if you don't have an understanding of how things work, that's a security vulnerability by itself, because you don't know what you're clicking on, you don't know where you're going, and if somebody sees that as an opportunity to exploit you, you're vulnerable. So I think you're right there.
And I think people have cut a lot of corners as well, because they don't have they don't have the time, and they did not have the time from when this was announced to when they had to make the decision to when they put it in place, to sit down and say, let's come up with a really sound security plan. So we rolled back on the old, engineering model of let's just fix it and get it working. We'll worry about if it's safe later. And, so everybody grabbed the duct tape and the soldering iron and ran, headed out. And now we're sort of sitting here with all these people at home going, yeah, they don't have a VPN. They're not even using it. And, they're logging in through some public site. Who knows what's going on?
Oh yeah, man. Plus you've got legacy applications that people have in place, and they had a fraction of employees who were using those apps before, and they were just using them out of necessity when they had to. So very sporadically. They haven't deprecated them because they're filling some old role that 20 years ago was a staple and now is just an afterthought. And now, with employees having to work from home, they're being hit a lot harder, and they're being utilized a lot more, and seeing a lot more web traffic.
Mm-hmm.
And that's one of the ways that Signal Sciences tries to step in and mitigate for stuff like that.
How do they do that? I mean, how does Signal Sciences do that?
Sure. So, I don't know if I'm sure you've probably covered this before on another show, but if you're familiar with the the Apache Struts vulnerabilities and a lot of the
yeah.
Yeah.
Oh yeah. When we hear Apache Struts, we all set up. But
right. So you've got that, and then you had the HTTP request smuggling back in the fall last year, and basically everybody was vulnerable in some way, right? Because if you didn't have a patch, which was inbound, I think back in August, every one of your web apps was vulnerable in some way to one of those vulnerabilities. So what we did was, since our agent is based on Golang, we updated it to the current version of Golang, which had mitigations in place for that vulnerability, and then customers took our reverse proxy agent and threw it in front of their servers while they had time to give them time to upgrade their web servers, right? And then in some cases, you've got legacy applications where they can't upgrade for some reason. And if they throw us in front of them, then they're not vulnerable to several legacy type attacks, right? There are other ways too. We can build rules around different attack patterns and protect, kind of like the industry term, virtual patching. But mainly, if you're using an up-to-date web server in front of your legacy web server, and it's a vulnerability in the server code itself, just having that in place is enough in many cases.
As I push those things into the cloud, I mean, that's going to be the same mechanism, right? So, I've been playing with that a lot.
Yeah, I mean, we have, so we've got some partnerships, then we have our Cloud WAF. Both of those are effectively sticking a current version Go web server in front of your web application. And, if it's a web server vulnerability, then doing something like that just mitigates the attack, right?
Right. All right. Well, thank you, Daniel, for joining us today. And if any of you want to learn more about Signal Sciences, you can do so by visiting securityweekly.com/Signal Sciences and check it out. Finally, today, as you can probably guess, everyone is suddenly using Skype and Zoom for everyday life, like us. So we're all using those products as well. Of course, that means everyone is at home living the hacker life and dreaming of saying, I'm in. Apparently, Zoom and other interaction tools are experiencing all sorts of trolls that are becoming known as Zoombombing. Chipotle had to end a public chat when someone began showing porn in the session. So you can actually grab that. It may not be on YouTube anymore, but it was yesterday. Not the porn, that's always on there, but the Chipotle session. A lot of I have been called already a couple times by teachers saying, how do I do this? Mostly this is people that don't really know how to use the tool to run a meeting, setting it up. And when they do that, basically what happens is people in the meeting can start sharing their desktop screens and so forth. And I know all of us immediately go, why they shouldn't be allowed to do that. But it's very easy to set these things up as public and end up getting Zoom bombed. So if you are using Zoom, Skype, and it's not the fault of the software, it's just the fault of the setup, review your setup, review your config so that you can have meetings free from Zoom bombing porn trolls. And yes, Roger Williams University has online cybersecurity programs. We had them before. I'm Doug White. Thanks for joining us for this episode of Security Weekly News, and I'll be back on Friday with the Security Weekly News wrap-up. Wash your hands.